Hello and welcome to the Eye on the U podcast, the Miami Herald's Miami Hurricanes podcast. I'm David Wilson, in the Hard Rock Stadium press box. If you couldn't tell from the video, Susan is out on the road this week, but we got her on the show out on vacation, up in Oregon. As we used to often joke going to recruit Mario. That joke no longer works. But Susan on vacation. I'm covering F1 this weekend. But we wanted to do a quick episode this week. We talked last Friday ahead of the second day of the draft. Three Miami players get picked. So we want to just kind of recap where they wound up, some fun moments from the draft, particularly with the Tyrique pick. We'll get to that in a second. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the undrafted guys, a couple landing with the Dolphins. So obviously that's always a fun little story. And then at the end, Miami gets a transfer. Jaden Davis will quickly hit on what that means. But first, just big picture thoughts on the draft. Susan, it's a stressful day, right? You have to sit in front of the TV all day. It's a like one of those hurry up and wait, right? That's like kind of old cliche. You sit around, never know what's going to happen. But ultimately for a Miami team, I know 3 picks is like pretty low by like Miami fan standards, but considering that team just went 5-7, I think a better weekend maybe than people expected, where we all thought it was going to be Tyrique and Mallory. And then DJ Ivey gets picked in the 7th round as well. Just what were kind of your overall thoughts on the draft?
Well, I thought it was the least stressful draft I remember. For me,
well, last year was very stressful because we were wondering if the streak was going to end until there were like 15 picks left.
We thought the streak would end, and I also thought we'd get Mr. Irrelevant. How wrong were we? But
Mr. Relevant.
Yeah, Brock Purdy became very relevant. Anyway, it was really non-stressful because I kind of both of us figured anybody who could go, and I was kind of ready for it. And I think Stevenson, Mallory were the pretty much
locks.
They were sure things. I thought they were kind of locks. I mean, Tyrique was a lock, and I really thought Mallory was a kind of 85% thought he was a lock. And I thought DJ Ivey, we talked about this, might go too. But it's weird because I thought maybe DJ Skate, who knows, could go at the end, and he ended up being a free agent to the Dolphins. We'll talk about that. But I mean, you're right. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been last year, one guy in the 7th round. So they got 3 guys, and I like who from here, who knows? Who knows who makes teams? But I bet more guys will show up. Again, there's practice squads. We'll talk about that. Lou Headley, stuff like that. So you never know what's going to happen in the future. But I thought it was okay, and I know that Mario Cristobal talks about the draft. And how you can tell you haven't been on the downswing because of the draft. Right. That's what you can look at, kind of. So next year I'm thinking Cam Kinchins, and you got.
Yeah, I saw. I think maybe was it McShay's very early mock that went out today. Was it McShay? It was one of the mocks I read today. Had Leonard Taylor as a 1st round pick, so they should have more. More, James Williams. I know it's had an up and down career, but those 6'5" safeties don't come along every day. Like, they're gonna have real prospects next year.
Let's hope Tyler
and Tyrique, and we should say Tyrique was a real prospect, like 2nd round pick. There was some buzz that maybe he was gonna be a 1st round pick.
56 overall.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I remember Clinton Portis was 51st overall.
Yeah.
51st or 52nd. Of course, he walked out of his draft party. He was so angry. He was sure he deserved 1st round, and he's probably right. But that was the buzz that year.
Yeah.
But I thought they ended up okay.
Could have been a lot worse, as you said. Let's go player by player real quick. Talk a little bit about the fit, them getting picked, all that kind of stuff. Tyrique, as I said, I think probably had the most fun Miami moment of the day, right? Going to the Bears, and coincidentally, I guess, Devin Hester announces the pick.
That was amazing. Okay,
that was definitely the highlight of the weekend for Canes fans.
A couple picks before, and I don't have it in front of me, but within 5 picks or something like that, or 2 picks or 3. right before Devin went up and announced another pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's it. I think he's going to go to the Bears. I was telling my husband, he's going to the Bears. And Devin's going to say it. And then they picked somebody else. And I'm like, what? And then what happened was, what I wasn't expecting was Devin to come up again, because I guess I wasn't looking carefully that the Bears were coming up again, or I don't know if they traded. They might have traded, I think, for that spot.
Yeah, I think they did.
They traded. All of a sudden, the Bears, here's Devin Hester again. And I like screamed, this is it. It's Tyrique. And I put the recorder on, the digital recorder, so I could hear what Mel Kiper would say. And sure enough, Devin throws up the U. And I swear, I guess would they know? I kept thinking, would they know? Like, would the Bears say go up there? Would they have anything to do with him going up there again?
Well, the teams kind of choose, teams in the NFL, I think, kind of like choose who presents picks after the first round if they want. And I'm sure Devin, the plan was just he's going to announce the second round pick. Maybe both, because I think they had two when they moved up to, yeah. I don't know if the plan was just that he was going to announce the first one, which was whatever, 45 or whatever it was.
Right.
Or the plan was always going to be that he announced both, but obviously he came up for the first one. And then even if he wasn't supposed to do the second one and it was just going to be the commissioner doing the second one, I think once it was a Kane, they were like, Devin, why don't you go back up?
That was so great.
But yeah, definitely the most fun moment. Yeah.
That was really great. And what a bear, what a Kane, right? Devin Hester. So I think I always like, both of us always like Tyrique.
Yeah. I think we've talked a lot about his physical traits. I mean, he was a really big recruit coming out of high school. It was a kind of a weak class in South Florida, which I actually wrote about in one of my stories that year. Wrote about one of my stories this weekend about that class of 2019, which are now the 4-year guys. But he was the number one guy in South Florida for that class. I think a top 50 overall recruit. Played a lot of different positions. Obviously played outside corner at Miami, played like slot, linebacker, safety hybrid at Georgia. As you mentioned last week, teams like him as a safety as well. And then the other thing, I mean, I think he's got like, and part of it, he played for Georgia, obviously for 2 years.
Yes.
Not with the national championship teams, but that core and for Kirby Smart and in that program, like he's got all the, I think he's got the physical tools, right? I think he was a good player, right? Not an All-American or anything, but a good player. But I think he's also got like the right attitude and all that kind of stuff too.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
And I wonder, not to like not give Miami credit, but I'm sure playing at Georgia for 2 years in that program that was, even though they didn't win a national championship when he was there, that was a national championship program. I'm sure that helped him a little bit. You look at how many Georgia players got drafted, like Tyrique's been gone for 2 years. People probably don't think of him in that same way, but that had to help. I mean, defense has been incredible for half a decade now.
Yeah, absolutely. What you said is true about Georgia. And Tyrique was steady, a lot of starts.
He kind of got the best of both worlds, right? Where at Georgia, he was like one piece in a machine. And then at Miami, he was the guy. He was, one of their 2 or 3 best defensive players.
And he was a guy, and then the other starter gets drafted too. So, that's, it was great. I was super, super happy for him because I love that he came home.
Yeah.
To him, it's all about family, and family is to me really important in the whole world, in the scheme of things. So I love that he came home to be near his grandma and mom and his, I think, 4 little sisters, and that was the most important thing to him. And then this piece of it too, obviously. So now we can take care of them. Yeah, it's a feel-good story all the way. Yeah,
he missed out on 2 national championships, but I never got the sense that he regretted that. Like I think he was very happy with his decision.
Which is kind of cool too, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I wonder if some NFL teams are like, oh, that's a red flag, right? Winning's most important, but there are other things that are more important. And again, I think if it worked at like, maybe he would have been a second round pick no matter what, but I'm sure getting the chance to play corner, to be the number 1 corner for 2 years. He was the number 1 corner for 2 straight years. He had some injuries right at the end of his junior season, whatever. I don't know what technically we're calling it because of all the COVID stuff, but 2 years ago. And then this year, but it's straight through, he got the chance to be the guy and I think really responded well to it. And that's like you said, he was looking to come home, but he was also definitely looking for that opportunity when he came to Miami that he probably wasn't necessarily going to get at Georgia.
Yep.
Let's move on to Will Mallory. He
Yep.
lands with the Colts. What do you make of that landing spot for him?
I love it. He's going to get the Florida quarterback, right? Anthony Richardson, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, God, I love when the Canes and Gators hook up there, but and Georgia Bulldogs, right? I'm sure he loved the Gators there too, but anyway, he yeah, I love it. Oh no,
And
Georgia. Sorry, I'm going back. My mind's on. Gotcha.
oh yeah.
Tyrique, no Georgia, guys. But Will Mallory, yeah, I'm happy. I fifth round is okay. I think.
Yeah, I think that's about what we thought for him.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be a success, David. I'm not. I don't know. I think the one question mark is what you've been saying, and I agree. It's the injury thing.
Yeah.
He had his torn labrums in each different shoulder, and he had surgeries to repair them. And he's fine now, and he's a really tough player. He
played through injuries, right? Like
totally. He really fights for the ball. The contested catches, he really fights for the ball. He was the fastest player, we've said, at the combine, fastest tight end at the combine. And also jumped high, and the vertical, everything he did well. And he's again, we've talked about this, but a coach's
another guy who checks the right attitude stuff, right? Like,
oh my God, all these coaches know each other. His grandfather, famous coach, he really was. He was a head coach of, and has like all these accolades to his name. His father now is, coaching in Michigan and was a Butkus Award finalist as a linebacker at Michigan. His uncle was coaching there. He's grown up in that kind of family, so he's very respectful of coaches, and I just think he's going to be a success. I do.
Yeah, and he goes to the AFC South, which means he's going up against Brevin Jordan 2 times a year, which is a fun little. They're not going against each other, obviously, but there will be lots of pictures tweeted out by the University of at Canes football of those two, like holding jerseys up next to each other or whatever when they run into each other.
Yeah, it's so cool when that happens. But very happy for Will. I think he got what he deserved, and I think he'll make the most of it. Yeah.
And it's got some ties, I believe, to Indiana too, right? I think his uncle is a coach at Indiana State, so it's kind of a Midwestern-y kind of family, right?
His uncle and I know his uncle is a coach at Michigan now.
Yeah, and we got one at Michigan, so wow. They're a Midwestern-y family, so good fit. And fifth round pick means the question around him, other than the injuries, is obviously like, can he block? And he's not going to it's not going to be a rush to get him on the field as a fifth round pick. So I would guess he's going to get a real chance to develop this year. Maybe play a little bit as basically like the Mike Gesicki kind of role, right? I mean, I think that might be the kind of comparison for him, just in terms of like athleticism at the tight end position. But
did you think the Dolphins might take him before? Because the Dolphins picked a tight end, didn't after him. But
they were like, everyone thought they were going to take a tight end. Like that was one of their main positions.
Yeah, and they were kind of around there.
But the problem is, it's the same reason Mike Gesicki is not a Dolphin anymore. Is the thing Mike McDaniel cares about most of his tight ends is guys who can block. But the one thing I'll say about Will is he's gotten a lot bigger. Like you just look at the way his body has changed, and he made like a real commitment to like trying to get better as a blocker. Like I don't think he's. Some tight ends just want to be that receiver. He wants to be a total package. So, I'm not expecting, Tyrique is going to play a lot. I think if you take a guy in the second round, you're banking on him to, if not start, play a ton for you. It'll be different with Will, but I could definitely see him developing into a long time NFL player. Last one, DJ Ivey, which was the as you mentioned, not a total surprise, but the one that I don't think the odds were probably against him being drafted just based on like what mock drafts and stuff were saying. But very cool to see him get picked because he, again, local kid from actually a former teammate of Tyrique Stevenson at South Dade, as we mentioned. Had his ups and downs and caught a lot of flack from Miami fans over the years, just like kind of be blunt about it. But he always had impressive physical tools. And every coaching staff that came in liked him, right? Like he was 3 different coaching staffs used him as a starting cornerback. I guess maybe technically, I don't know if you ever started when Mark Richt was in charge, but either way, 3 coaching staffs really liked him. And 7th round pick is developmental guy, right? And you look at the way that he's built and the way that he is been able to, I think, I remember him in high school. He was like a string bean. Like he's actually kind of, I think, changed physically a lot too. This is a guy who came in and was a 4-star recruit, but wasn't like the crown jewel of that 2018 class, and just stuck around, kept working, got beat sometimes, made good plays sometimes.
But you know what? Mario loved him.
Yeah, Mario loved him. Manny Diaz loved him. Like
as soon as he was, the thing about DJ Ivey, he was very devoted to the program.
Yes.
And he stuck with the program when he really left. He could have gone to the transfer portal.
Him and Will, both 3 different head coaches when they were both in the 2018 class, played for 3 different head coaches.
The difference,
Will had a job. Well, I guess DJ always had a job too, but
but Will, I'm not saying the fans weren't sometimes hard on Will, but they were brutal.
They were hard on DJ. Yeah.
They were really brutal to him. And I'm sure he saw social media.
And he's local, right? He's local.
Homestead. Exactly. He's local. And he still, he persevered, man. I mean, and I could tell as soon as he was drafted, Mario, like very soon after, sent out a really gushing tweet about him, about like just effusive about DJ Ivey. And you could tell Mario really loved this kid.
Yeah.
He seems like a great kind of player.
I've gotten the sense that he's one of the best practice guys they have. Because I think about when Mario first took over, I think even like Barry always does his little stories about who's impressing at camp, and they were very effusive about DJ then. And then at the same time, he kind of like a surprise inclusion on like the Senior Bowl watch lists around that time. And that was based off of, and I think maybe even Senior Bowl people like were quoted on this, basically like that Mario was like, this guy's really good. So and that was just based off, I guess, spring ball and summer workouts and maybe a little bit of training camp. So that stuff obviously want guys to be great on Saturdays and Sundays too, but I think a lot of coaches will take a guy who is very coachable, works hard in practice, and always believe that they can get the most out of them. And I'm sure NFL coaches, when they talk to Mario, got all that information from him, all the same stuff we're talking about.
Oh yeah. And a good athlete, I mean, he was a really good athlete. And the thing is, he did a lot of things right. Like we would see him make some beautiful, on man coverage.
Got those long arms.
Oh my God, so long.
Remember the Texas A&M game? He broke up like 3 or 4 passes.
Oh, yeah, he was great. That was like the best game of his career.
Probably. He got burned sometimes because he's not the fastest corner, right?
He got burned sometimes. That's the problem.
But it was very rarely like he fell. I mean, there were some times, but like any cornerback, but it was usually just he got outrun, and he's not the fastest corner. And if an NFL team that drafted him knows that, right? They know the 40 times they watch the tape, but he does a lot of things really well. And Miami, I think the way that they play press man just always is like colleges like that, or NFL teams like that.
Yeah, for sure. So he stayed classy.
Yeah.
He stayed classy. Okay. When people were doing all that stuff, he stayed classy, and he just cared about the team and just kept persevering. And I think and obviously he has talent. So I'm very happy. I'm really happy because a kid like that deserves it. They deserve to get they put into it kind of. So if they have talent. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, and as far as the other players, like I know there were 4 that signed that were undrafted free agents. And one of them, not Justice Oluwaseun had severely hurt his ankle at like 5th game of the season, so he's still rehabbing. I think he would have had a shot for sure, at least to do undrafted. And Antonio, excuse me, Moultrie, I don't think anything. Oh no, yeah, Antonio Moultrie was the one that told me that he was invited to a couple of back-to-back mini camps, but there were 4 of them and 2 to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Which, DJ Scaife, which was kind of cool, right?
Yep. Another local kid, went to Southridge, so another local kid getting to play for the Dolphins.
And offensive lineman, and so that was nice for him. And he started I think 51 games.
Yeah. I spotlighted him last week as the undrafted guy I'm kind of most interested in, because again, he played I think 3 different positions. In the NFL, he's gonna get a more standard role. He was like the utility man for Miami, and it made him really valuable to the program, but probably hurt his development a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, he's even told us that he I don't think you were there that day, but he told us teams have talked to him and he's envisioned himself as an inside guy.
Yeah. But in Miami, he was playing a lot of tackle. He was kind of out of position.
I agree. He was. He said he could play. I mean, he could play center or guard, but guard is probably his best position. And the most interesting also to me, Mitchell Agude, the defensive end, the rush end or edge or whatever. He's going to the Dolphins too, and he's talented. Also, they're all talented, but a really good kid, a great story behind him, and I hope they both do well.
Okay, let's wrap things up real quick. Just talking transfer portal.
Wait, we're not talking Lou Headley.
Oh,
okay, that's fine.
We can.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think he's going to the Saints. Yeah, as a free undrafted free agent. So and Caleb Johnson is going to the JETS whatever. No, Caleb Johnson, linebacker, is going as an undrafted free agent also. So yeah, okay, let's go. We can move on.
Okay, let's wrap things up real quick with just some transfer portal talk. Miami gets Jaden Davis out of the portal from St. Thomas Aquinas. Then Oklahoma says he's coming home to Miami. Just an important addition for Miami, just based on position. I mean, he's a good player too. He was a big recruit coming out of high school. A little small, probably best suited as a slot guy. But coming, Miami just needed some more depth at that position, as we saw.
Yeah, I think as we see, cornerbacks are very valuable.
Yes.
In the NFL and everywhere. So, they lost their 2 guys. So their 2 starters, and they need all the help they can get there. And I don't really know, other than what I wrote. I haven't really seen him play, but another guy again coming home, and he's from Oklahoma. I mean, he played at Oklahoma, and Charleston Rambo was the last Oklahoma transfer, and he broke the single season receiving yards record and something else for receivers in the one season he was there. Of course, he wasn't drafted, but you can't argue with those numbers. So anyway, someone was saying, I saw some people on the message boards saying, turn him into a receiver.
I think they're still working hard for a receiver.
They are.
I mean, they got the one big guy in Devontae Brown. Kind of got a lot of smaller guys. Like I kind of would have liked them to go get another bigger guy, because I think Jaden Davis is best suited as a slot guy. You feel good about Decory, feel good about Daryl Porter.
And you got Damari coming in.
Yeah, Damari coming in. He's a bigger guy too, but again, hard to count on a freshman cornerback.
Correct.
But I like their slot guys now. They got three good options in the slot. I thought Porter was very good in the spring game. Obviously, Takori is just reliable. Been playing an important role for the team for 4 years, basically. And now Jaden Davis, is a guy who comes in and, it's going to be a competition to start, but he was a starter at Oklahoma. And just more competition at that spot is obviously a good thing. They're going to be, I would guess 3 of those 4 guys start that I just named, unless they get someone else, which means you're going to be a little small playing one of those guys on the outside opposite Devontae Brown, but still some good talent. Like, you'd rather have that than just the situation you were in without it. Like, you just needed some bodies there.
Yeah, that's all true. So we'll see what happens. Another very important position. So
yep. Gotta go out and get a receiver now. And we'll see if that happens. Still, they're working hard to. Xavier Henderson continues to be the hot name there. We'll see if that comes through at some point. But yeah, that's clearly the spot they need, and they're gonna just be active everywhere because that's the way college football is now.
Correct. That NIL money needs to start coming in.
Yep, I've been seeing a lot of Canes connection on my Twitter feed this week.
Yes, me too.
I think they're really trying to kind of ramp things up, which is a good thing. Anyway, I think we can wrap things up there. You can follow Susan on Twitter at @SMillerDegnan. Are you back from vacation next week?
Middle
of next week. Okay, yeah. So we'll jointly, along with Barry Jackson, be monitoring all the Miami news going on. You can follow me on Twitter at DBWilson2. I'm juggling Formula One and the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. Like I said, sitting at Hard Rock Stadium right now, getting ready for the first day of events here at the Miami Grand Prix, and then I'll shift back to hockey later next week. So anyway, thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you guys next week.